What up, everybody? It's your boy Sack the King up in this motherfucker, man. Back with another story, a continuation of the YCP story. This is the job challenge story, aka my very first job, right? Now, if you've been watching my channel, you already know I had a kid at 15. I dropped out of high school. I ended up going to YCP, and after YCP, this was the next phase before I joined the Army. It was job challenge, where I had my very first job. But before I get off into this story, man, make sure you hit that subscribe button below so you can be the first to know and help the channel grow. I appreciate all my returning subscribers. When I reach 1,000 subscribers, I will be giving away $100 to a random subscriber. When I reach 10,000 subscribers, I'll be giving away $1,000. So share my videos, subscribe to my videos, tell a friend, and come back and view some shit again. You feel what I'm saying, man? But anyway, so continuation on from the YCP story. Okay. So I graduated YCP. I ended up getting my GED, right? Now, I remember when I got my GED, that was one of the greatest days of my life. Let me say that again. That was one of the greatest days of my life because I wanted to get the fuck out of racist ass Louisiana so fucking bad. I'm not from Louisiana. I'm from California, and I had a 2-year-old son by this time. You know what I'm saying? And I just wanted to get the fuck. No, actually, my son was 1. My son was like 1.5 at this time. And I wanted to get the fuck out of Louisiana. And I knew that if I stayed in Louisiana, I was going to end up going to jail and throwing away my life. And that everybody that I knew at that time, all my classmates and shit, was going to be stuck doing the same shit for the next 10 years. Well, let me tell y'all something, an update, right? It's 2023, and a lot of those same classmates are still in Louisiana, stuck doing the same damn shit. Some of them have even went off to college or stayed and went to Louisiana Tech or went to Grambling or even went to LSU. But guess what? They migrated back to small-ass Ruston, Louisiana or Grambling, Louisiana, and that's where they're at. Now, no shade to Grambling or Ruston, Louisiana, because I really got some lifelong friends that are still there. You know what I mean? And my son is from there. My oldest son, obviously. I keep telling y'all that I had a kid at 15, right? But I moved him the fuck out as soon as I could after he graduated from high school. From that same racist ass high school that I got kicked out of last. Ain't that ironic, right? So anyways, like I said, I went to Job Challenge now. Now, Job Challenge, like I said, is what the equivalent of Job Corps, but it was a sister program of the Youth Challenge program. So here is where they would have different programs set up to where you could get some employment, right? So they had shit like, I remember construction was one of them. I remember the food service was another one. And like some kind of like nursing was another one. They had like 5 different programs. Now, mind you, damn near all the kids that went to Youth Challenge program, they came over. Well, I'd say about half. Half came over to Job Challenge program. But this was located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, in a little ass town called Carville. And we was at the Gillis Long Center. I want to say that this was like some old mental institution or something that was back in the day, some old mental hospital. Y'all can Google and do your research on it, but from back in the day, from what I remember 23 years ago, this was like some old mental hospital or something. We used to still see patients getting pushed around and looking all crazy, and they said that there was ghosts there. But honestly, the campus looked like an old slave plantation, bro. It was like a big-ass slave house. That's what it looked like with a bunch. I knew they had some slaves there at one point. Somebody Google Carville, Louisiana Job Challenge Gillis Long Center, and I guarantee you that shit probably was a mental institution or a slave fucking plantation back in the day, right? So anyways, if you watch my last story about YCP and Antoinette Dunbar, because that's where I left off at, she ended up going to this Job Challenge program. So did my boy, who I mentioned in the last story, Lionel Douglas, went to this program, and there was a white girl who went to YCP with us named Jessica Broussard, right? So we was all there, you know what I mean? Me and Douglas, we ended up being roommates, and like I said in the last video, he used to always be bumping that little Boosie concentration camp. You ain't about no trouble. Oh, I hear you talking. You ain't about no trouble. I remember that fucking song like crazy. Like, that was the main song that we used to be up in there jamming. We had a little radio and shit, right? Because when you went to Job Challenge, it was way more relaxed than Youth Challenge program. Youth Challenge program was hella strict, you know what I'm saying? They didn't even want you talking to the girls, but we still passed notes and all that other shit, you feel me? So anyways, so we had Job Challenge. Longer story short, I'm in a food program because this was the only program that was paying a check, you feel me, at the time. My boy was in the construction program. He was trying to learn how to drive backhoes and shit because they said that was one of the top paying jobs. When you did graduate, they'll refer you to some construction sites. But I had a kid, so I needed a check now, you know what I'm saying? And so what my first job was at Piccadilly's. Now, if you're from Baton Rouge, you know where Piccadilly's is. I want to say that this was the very first Piccadilly's in Baton Rouge. This was in 2000, right? This was like the summer of 2000. And I worked at the very first Piccadilly's in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And we used to have to get in the van. Everybody who was in the food service program used to have to get in the van and drive all the way from Carville to Baton Rouge. I'm not sure how far that was, but it usually was like a 20-minute drive, you know what I mean? But I worked right in the heart of Baton Rouge, right? So I remember that was my very first job. We got a real check like every 2 weeks and everything. You know what I'm saying? The check was only like $400 every 2 weeks. But for a 17-year-old nigga, shit, that was balling back then. You know what I mean? Like $800 a month. Nigga, I'm balling. That's what I felt like. Especially in 2000, the year 2000, $800 was like $1,600. You feel me, nigga? I was balling. You feel me? I'd break off my baby mama about $300 for the month. You know what I mean? Which actually was something back then. And nigga, I felt like I was balling with the other 500. You feel me? So anyways, it didn't last that long though. Let me tell you why. Let me tell you some of this shit that I used to do, man. I first started off on salads. You know what I'm saying? That's what my first area was to work in Piccadilly. And if Piccadilly is kind of like a all-you-can-eat restaurant or some shit like that, I don't know. I never ate inside because I was too busy eating the food in the back. Right, so I had worked my way on up. I only went there for 2 months, and I'm gonna get into that. But in those 2 months, in those 8 weeks, I worked my way on up to the cook. So I'm cooking the burgers, I'm frying the chicken, I'm frying the fish, I'm frying the fries, and the hush puppies. They had all kind of shit, right? So what I used to do, first I started off in salads, then I was doing prep by opening like all the cans for the vegetables and shit. Then I was doing something else, and then I ended up working up my way up to cook, you know what I mean? But what I used to do is I used to just cook shit for myself, and used to have to put the tray, like cook a whole bunch of fish, put the tray up, cook a whole bunch of hamburgers, put the tray up, fries, hush puppies, put the tray up. But I was cooking shit for myself, so I was eating good all day up in that bitch too, right? So I remember one morning before we went to work, right? It was a Friday. Matter of fact, I swear to God, it was a Friday. I just got my check, right? Now, before we went to work, we used to eat breakfast, and then they would put us in the vans, and then we would all go our separate ways to our different programs where they're going to teach us our jobs, right? So on this particular day, I remember we was all eating, me and Douglas, we was eating. Now, mind you, he 18, I'm 17, you know what I'm saying? So he a grown-ass adult. He can do what he want. So that'll make sense in a second. So I remember we all in the cafeteria and we laughing and shit and whoop whoop whoop. And one of the fucking drill sergeants or cadre or whatever you want to call them, because they had those two, just like at YCP, it was some National Guard motherfuckers in there trying to tell everybody what to do. Him and Douglas started getting into it. Now Douglas is a grown ass man, and he was built like a grown ass man at the time too. You know what I'm saying? And he like, man, fuck this shit. Now, mind you, Douglas had a kid too, so, you know, that's one thing that we had in common. Is like, we felt like we was grown-ass men because we had kids and everything, right? So, I remember Douglas was like, man, fuck y'all niggas, I'm out of here. And I'm over here trying to stick up like, man, calm him down. Like, hey, man, chill out, man. Like, nah, bro, don't do that, man. You got kids. Like, he's like, man, fuck that program. I ain't getting no money from that shit anyway. You know what I'm saying? But all of a sudden, the attention turned on me. So the drill sergeant nigga's like, if you want, you can leave too. I'm like, hold on, bro. Like, nigga, who you talking to? I'm trying to help the situation out. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to get this nigga, because Douglas was going to beat this grown-ass man's ass, and he was built like a grown man already. And this nigga from the south side of Baton Rouge, he wasn't no punk at all. You feel me? I mean, neither was me. Like, we both was two of the realest, hardest niggas in the whole program. We used to punk niggas out all the time. But anyways, so I remember Douglas was like, man, fuck y'all niggas. I'm out of this bitch. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, the attention turned on me. So I'm like, hey, bruh, like, this shit ain't got nothing to do with me, but shit, fuck you too then. You know what I mean? He was like, get out, get your shit and get out. You know what I mean? I'm like, man, fuck y'all. Fuck this whole program. I remember I slid the tray off. I had some biscuits and gravy. Now, if you know me, I love biscuits and gravy. So that really made me mad when I couldn't eat my breakfast. You know what I'm saying? So I just slid that shit off because, like I said, I was going to eat at work anyway. You know what I mean? Or at least so I thought. You know what I mean? So anyways, so I remember Douglas, they was like, go pack your stuff. You're out of here. He was like, I don't give a fuck, nigga. It's Friday anyway. I'm out this bitch. You know what I'm saying? So I remember like, yeah, I'm out of here too. And they was like, nah, bruh. You need permission. You're 17. You can't just leave on your own. So I was like, man, take me to the office. I'm going to call my mom. Woo, woo, woo. So I remember calling my mom. I was like, Mom, these niggas over here playing with me, man. These niggas tripping. Woo, 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 woo. And I remember even the dude who was in the room was like, don't be talking like that. I'm like, fuck you, man. Don't be telling me how to talk to my mama. Woo, woo, woo. So my mom's on the other end like, no, Chris, just stay. You work so hard in YCP just to make it the job challenge. Think about your son. I'm like, man, fuck these folks, man. Because it was already at the point where I knew it wasn't going to be the same. They was going to fuck with me no matter what for the rest of the time that I was there. I had like 3 more months there. I'm like, this shit ain't going to work. You feel me? Now, this is the second best decision I made besides dropping out of high school and going to YCP. Dropping out of job challenge, quitting job challenge, right? So I remember I'm like, nah, fuck these niggas. I'm out of here. My mom was like, well, shit, I'll tell them if you want to leave, but when you come back here, you got to get a job. You know what I mean? I was like, Mom, I'm about to go to the Army recruiter on Monday. It was a Friday. I'm like, Mom, I'm about to go to the Army recruiter on Monday. Don't even trip. Fuck, no, I wanted to go to the Marines, right? That's a whole nother story. I wanted to go to the Marines, and I'm going to tell y'all that story when I tell y'all the story about me joining the Army. So stay tuned for that. But anyways, I was like, man, I'm going to Marine recruiter on Monday. My mom was like, all right, cool. You know what I mean? Because I already had my GED, so I can do what the fuck I want. You know what I mean? So my mom was like, all right, well, fuck them then. And I was like, man, I just got my check. I'm going to buy me a bus ticket back from Baton Rouge all the way back to Grambling. Don't even trip. My mom was like, all right. Now, mind you, it's Friday, right? Like I said, if you listen to my last story, there was a chick named Antoinette Dunbar. The bitch was ugly, but she had some big ass titties and a fat ass. You know what I'm saying? And Jessica Broussard, that's who my boy Lionel Douglas was on, because we all knew each other from the program before, right? So I'm like, shit, I just got my little check, nigga. I had like about like $600, $700 on that check. I was like, hell, no. I had like a $500 check that time, right? I was only getting like $800-900 a month, but I had a $500 check. They gave me that shit that morning. They used to pay you on the day that you got paid. Every other Friday, they would give it to you that morning. You know what I'm saying? Because it would come in that Thursday, and the cadre would come and give you that check. So I had that check in my back pocket, right? So I'm like, hell yeah. And that was another reason why I just didn't give a fuck, and I wasn't worried about quitting, because like I said, I had about $600, and like I said, back in the day, that was like having $1,200. You know what I'm saying? So I felt like I was on, nigga. Now, bruh, sometimes I spend $600 on just normal ass shit. You know what I mean? Anyways, man, so I remember I was telling Douglas, like, hey, man, what's up? He from Baton Rouge, mind you. You know what I mean? I was like, hey, bro, like, I got a check. Nigga, I'm going to just go cash this shit, and I'm going to get us some rooms at the Motel 6, and you can take Jessica, and I'm going to take Antoinette. We can just kick it with them bitches for the whole weekend. He was like, shit, for sure. I was like, yep. So I asked the bitches, I was like, what's up? Y'all getting a weekend pass? They was like, hell yeah. I was like, what y'all want to do? They was like, shit, whatever. Let's get some bottles. Let's kick it, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So I remember we went to the Motel 6 in Baton Rouge. I got a room. I got him and her and Jessica Broussard a room. He called his cousin over there, and they got us some bottles of Hennessy and shit and some weed, and we kicked it the whole weekend. We had side-by-side rooms, you know what I mean? And I was smashing the fuck out of Antoinette Dunbar, bro. That bitch was ugly, but she had a fat ass and some big titties and some good pussy, bro. And I beat that shit. And I remember her telling me, like, man, you got my pussy on bricks. You got my pussy sitting on bricks. Like a fucking car that's got its rim stolen or something. You know what I mean? But I beat that fucking pussy up all fucking weekend. And I ended up staying in Baton Rouge for till that Wednesday or Thursday. I didn't even go home. After we checked out the room for that weekend, I paid for 2 nights. Friday and Saturday, and then we left Sunday. And I went back and I kicked it with his family for like 3 or 4 days. You know what I mean? They welcomed me with open arms. And then I ended up going back home, man. And yeah, man, that was my job challenge motherfucking story right there, man. But hey, quitting job challenge was damn near the second best decision I ever made besides dropping out of high school, man. Like, I'm so glad that I didn't stay and fulfill whatever terms I had to fulfill on that shit, because it ended up, you know, set me up for the rest of the things that would happen in life, like joining the army. So make sure you stay tuned for that video. You ain't gonna want to miss it. Hit that subscribe button below so you can be the first to know and help the channel grow. And I'm out. It's King.